This is insane. Wanted to show you guys orcas sank a third boat. Scientists think these brutal attacks may be trauma driven. I don't know if you guys have heard about this stuff going on, but it was insane and just came across it and thought I definitely wanted to share it. Very interesting article. Just a reminder of our place on the planet Earth here and what we're dealing with as we go about our as we go about our normal days is what I meant to say, and just a reminder of always be respectful to nature and things going on around you. But orcas are targeting sailboats near the Iberian Peninsula, and nobody knows why. Most of the attacks involve multiple orcas ramming the boat, but it remains afloat. In several cases, however, the animals have managed to sink entire boats. The third case of orcas sinking a boat happened earlier this month off the Iberian coast. Live Science reported the attacks were brutal. Skipper Warner Schaffelberger, I can't pronounce that name. That's the best I could do. I'm just a dummy. Was sailing at night off the coast of Spain when 3 orcas started to attack his boat. At first I thought we had hit something, but then I quickly realized that it was orcas attacking the ship, Schaffelberger told the German publication Yacht. The attacks were brutal. There were 2 smaller and 1 larger orca. The 2 little ones shook the rudder, while the big one kept running and then rammed the ship from the side with full force, he added. The Spanish Coast Guard rescued Schaffelberger and the rest of the crew and towed the boat to port, where it sank right before reaching the port, man. That is crazy. The things actually planned an attack and executed an attack and were successful in this attack, in this situation. What a terrifying situation to be in and have to come to face with that. I mean, orcas in and of themselves are massive creatures and extremely powerful. And at one point in my life, we've visited multiple times, actually, SeaWorld in Orlando, which this was before really what the mistreatment of the animals came to light and all this and how they were reacting. This is when I was very, very young. And so back then it was an insane thing to see. And I remember going to the Shamu show, and I remember going up to the glass and looking in and seeing how deep that pool was and seeing how deep that whale would just swim all the way to the bottom. And I remember watching the trainers ride the nose of the whale as it took them all the way to the bottom of the pool and then brought them back up to the surface again. And they did flips and all this kind of crazy stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, I will never do that. You could never convince me to get in a pool like that with an animal like that. That is crazy. And then now all this stuff recently coming to light just a few years ago about, how these whales would attack and kill. I remember at the time where they had that trainer that was murdered in front of people with the Dine for Shamu area. The last time I was in SeaWorld, I remember that whole, restaurant eating area that you could pay for being open, where they would do a private show for you right near the water. And the trainer was grabbed by her hair and dragged into the water. I mean, these things are majestic and they're large and they're brutal, man. I mean, these are crazy powerful animals that you just don't take lightly. And I feel like people quickly forget and don't understand how you are still very much a part of nature. In our world where we're constantly moving, we're constantly on the go, we're connected to the internet, we're constantly roaming, nature is happening around us, and it's still a very real reality. I mean, I recently, just in our personal household, was reminded of that just from my son. My son got bit by something. We don't know if it was a spider, a tick, or we don't know if it was a caterpillar even in the area where we're at, where it looks like he's got a little bit of venom in there, and we had to call the doctor and make sure he was okay. But a big throbbing red sore on his arm with venom traveling up his arm a little bit. I mean, it was pretty crazy, but it's a reminder of the fact that, like, no matter how comfortable you are still living amongst a very real and brutal reality of a world around you. And I just felt like this article was just incredible, talking about how this has happened. Now, this has happened more than once, how these things are doing this, but essentially it says that after they rescued him, they break down and go into more of this stuff. Let me find my place again in here. So it says the orcas are doing this on purpose. Of course, we don't know the origin or the motivation, but defensive behavior based on trauma as the origin We don't know the origin or the motivation, but defensive behavior based on trauma as the origin of all this gains more strength for us every day. Biologist Fernandez at the University of Aveiro in Portugal and representative of the Atlantic Orca Working Group told Live Science. Schaufelberg, I don't even know how to say this guy's name, wasn't the only victim this month. On May 2nd, Greg Blackburn thought his boat was hitting rough waves when the thumps began as he sailed through the Strait of Gibraltar near Tangier, Morocco. You can tell I'm not a world traveler, guys. I don't get out much. I work a real job, and I work, so I'm not someone who's accustomed to all this, according to 9 News. But as the jolts continued and the rudder seemed to resist his steering, so once again they're messing with the rudders. Blackburn looked down and saw 2 orcas repeatedly ramming his boat, and soon 2 more joined in. There's not a lot you can do at that point, Blackburn, a sailor from the UK, told 9 News. After reading reports and knowing what has been going on, just thought we were in for a ride now. Another pair of notable orca attacks occurred last July when a pod of orcas struck a sailboat off the coast of Portugal and, just hours later, targeted another vessel in the same area, according to reports. A collaboration of researchers has recorded more than 200 reports of interactions where orcas approach or touch a vessel along Portugal and Spain's Iberian Peninsula since 2020. Insider previously reported in 2020 about a series of aggressive actions by orcas along the Spanish and Portuguese coasts. At the time, scientists had different theories. The killer whales could be acting out of curiosity, mischief, territorial, or trauma. But this guy suspects that one traumatized female orca may be to blame. Her name is White Gladys. Woo, beware White Gladys and White Gladys's fury. And, according to Live Science, she may have experienced a collision with a boat or equipment during illegal fishing. The incident changed something in Gladys. That traumatized orca is the one that started this behavior of physical contact with the boat. Man, this is his theory, so they're not 100% sure. Whatever the reason for the growing number of attacks, whether it's Gladys or something else, if you encounter an orca in the wild, there are some guidelines for what to do. Keep a low profile on deck. Don't excite the orcas. Contact authorities. If the orcas ram your boat, secure yourself to something, because the last thing you should ever do is enter the water when orcas are nearby. Yeah, no duh. Oh my Lord. How crazy is that? That is insane. That scares the crap out of me, man. My wife is already having a hard time convincing me to go on a cruise, and this is going to make it even harder, to be honest. That is not something I want to mess with. That is insane. That is crazy. It's so easy for us to forget how real nature is. It's insane to think that someone could have initiated all this activity, all of this response from an accident, and these animals are now working together to attack and push out boats that they see as potential threats out of their territory. What a crazy and insane thing to think about. This reminds me, because consistently you see in our day and age now, multiple people that I feel like just you see engage in behavior that doesn't really respect nature for what it is. What was popping up in my head as I read this article and thinking about sharing it was, I spent some time in Colorado. And in Colorado, there's massive growth going on as of right now. And I think what comes with that when people start moving into the state is they don't realize like how in the face of nature you are. You're so close to the mountains in some areas of Colorado. And where we lived, we were very close to the mountain range. And all the time we had bears going through our communities. Obviously you got the raccoons. They had squirrels, believe it or not. We had a massive squirrel problem. Like one of my neighbors, a close friend of mine, a squirrel came in through her kitchen window as she was in the kitchen cooking and started running rampant through her kitchen counter, grabbing stuff and hopping out the window as she's screaming, trying to throw things out to get it out of her kitchen. And it just came in and she was there. Normally squirrels are very, keep away, but this thing came right in. That's how emboldened they were, and so she had to like keep her windows closed and lock up her trash cans because squirrels were just coming in at the house at all times of the day. She could hear them scratching on the window on the windows in her neighborhood, and that was in Denver. That was where that was going on. That was in Denver. So, but in this one instance, I remember I was driving down the road on my way to work in the morning, and there was a bobcat just walking down the street on the sidewalk with its babies, just walking like a mother bobcat. And as it was walking, I watched this woman get out of her car, park her car in the middle of the road, and get out of her car and walk up to this thing and get really, really close, uncomfortably close with its babies, and start taking pictures of it and following it down the road. And you could tell the thing was uncomfortable, started speeding up, trying to get them away from her, and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to just be honest, this dummy is getting really close to this thing. And at any moment, that thing could go and attack. You're getting close to its babies. It's not afraid of you. It's just trying to get its babies away from you. And if it feels cornered, it'll turn around and attack. And this woman has no clue. She's just getting up close to it and following it down the street. My light, this was at a stop. This was at a 4-way stoplight area. She gets out of her car, and our lights were red. My light turns green. I drive away. I'm not sticking around to see what's going to happen to this woman. I mean, that was crazy. And so you see this kind of stuff taking place all the time. And you're just like, is this woman even thinking? Like, what was this woman thinking doing this? And so I just feel like there is a massive amount of people out there that, because of the advancement in technology, we forget that we are still very much part of a brutal world, and we got to pay attention. And even something else that popped into my mind, I don't know if you guys remember this, but this was an article back in 2020. And I don't know where I heard this from. Most likely was the Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, this sounds like a Joe Rogan podcast article that he would talk about. But woman killed by alligator after trying to take pictures and touch animal. Yeah. I mean, it's the same situation. I don't know what happened to that woman. I never saw on the news if she got attacked by the bobcat, but I would imagine she didn't. Maybe she stopped eventually and left it alone. But in this situation, a woman was killed by an alligator. This is in 2020, as she attempted to touch the animal after spotting it in a nearby pond. She was 58, was at her friend's home in South Carolina, painting her nails. According to the police report, the friend said that she was very talkative and strange. I guess this was just her personality. At the salon, she acts very professional, but today she was very relaxed and excited that her boyfriend was coming in from Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. Friend added this, she was other substances. She wasn't drug or high or anything like that. After doing the woman's nails, Muskova reportedly spotted the alligator in the pond and was fascinated by the animal. Muskova walked over to the pond and started taking pictures of the animal, at which point the friend warned about how she saw a deer getting attacked by the alligator at the same location. Deputies said, "I don't look like a deer," this woman responded before she reportedly reached out to touch the animal. It then attacked and grabbed the woman's leg, pulling her into the water. "I guess I don't want to do this again," she was heard saying after the alligator grabbed her, according to the police report. I mean, just think about that. "I guess I don't want to do this again." This woman had no idea how much danger she was actually in, to the point where the last words they heard her say was, I guess I don't want to do this again." Oh my God. Just a crazy, crazy situation where we can quickly forget how close to nature we are and how tied together with nature we are, and how there is brutality around us, and we need to be aware. Don't just take things for granted. I'm not saying be in fear, but what I am saying is respect it. And that's what I'm saying. When I spent time in Colorado, when we would go camping and do all these different things, we always made sure to understand that, we respect nature. We loved it. Beautiful, amazing views. It was an amazing state to live in. You could go out in the middle of nowhere and camp. Beautiful scenery. And I mean, there was just, adventure was right outside your door. It was fun, and I genuinely miss it. But one thing that we made sure to never do is we always made sure to never be disrespectful to nature, in the sense of understanding that when you're out there, you have things that could very easily walk up on you and cause problems. Bears, all sorts of, coyotes, all sorts of stuff. Now potentially wolves, I guess. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with it, but I heard through some news article that they're reintroducing wolves into the population. So you always had to be careful with your food, and with, how when you went to the restroom alone, and all that kind of stuff, and making sure you have bear mace on you, and making sure you're aware of your surroundings and all those kinds of things taking place. I mean, bears aren't even the half of it. A bobcat could come up on you. I mean, those things are just as scary and dangerous as anything else. Or mountain lions, those are very real. We had an area in our near us where we lived that was very it was heavily it had a heavy population of mountain lions, and the guy kept having to call animal control out to his property to keep having them removed. And so it's a very real and present thing that takes place around you, and we should never take it lightly. But the orca story just kind of brought up all those thoughts, and I just figured I'd come on here and talk to you guys about it. I mean, that is a crazy, crazy situation that these things are doing this. Very intelligent creatures, very powerful creatures, and we need to respect them and keep that in mind. And it's something that is just very fascinating. I look forward to trying to follow up with this and see what else they learn, and if this stops, or if it continues, or anything like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you have any stories of things like this taking place? I'd be curious to see if anyone has any personal stories like this. I mean, the closest thing that I can think of in my mind is watching that woman mess with that bobcat, and then obviously my friend with the squirrels. That was nuts, and dealing with them, no pun intended. But let me know what you think. Please like the video. That really does help me. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for taking the time to do stuff like that. It helps support the channel, and it gets the video out there even more, and we get more engagement, which is always appreciated. Thank you for all the growth that we're seeing. Like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff really helps the channel. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a good weekend, and I will catch you in the next one.